trying to shake the president's hand. Dana Bash is inside. She was inside throughout the State of the Union address. Give us a little bit more of the color in there, Dana.
You know, you mentioned the fact that the Republicans were a bit subdued, and I tell you, we were talking right before the speech about the fact that the Republican leadership said that, you know, they should not have another you lie moment, and boy, did they listen. I didn't even hear any booing, which is something that we have heard from Democrats when Republican presidents have spoken, and certainly from Republicans when Democratic presidents have spoken. It did not happen at all. They were pretty much silent when the president talked about things that they very much opposed. But one other moment, when the president talked about that spending freeze, I had a clear line of vision to some of the, for lack of a better term, old bulls, the Democratic chairman, who simply do not like that idea at all. They are philosophically opposed to not spending at a time where they think that it's important to do that when jobs need to be created, and they were stone-faced, absolutely stone-faced. It was a good example, I thought, of how hard it is going to be for the president to get both Democrats and Republicans to change the way he talked about tonight.
I want to go from the floor of the House of Representatives to the floor of the House of Delegates at the Virginia State Capitol. And you can see over there the governor of Virginia, Bob McDonnell. He's now walking in, getting ready to deliver his GOP response to the president. It's interesting that they selected the newly elected governor of Virginia. He's very popular right now. He's a rising star in the Republican Party. He's one of three winners, Republican winners, in statewide contests over the past few months in Virginia, New Jersey, and now most recently in Massachusetts. That has a lot of Republicans all excited about the opportunities they might have in the midterm elections coming up in November. So you can see these two chambers. The chamber on the U.S. Capitol beginning to empty out, almost completely empty right now. So still some people in the gallery, some on the floor. But you see the crowd there. These are mostly Republicans. There are a few Democrats, although I don't think there are any Democratic legislators who have come into the House of Delegates in Richmond to participate in this. This will strictly be a GOP, very friendly crowd for the governor of Virginia. As we await his response, I want to bring John King into this conversation, because there was a moment when the president made some remarks about the most recent Supreme Court decision lifting basically 100 years of restrictions on campaign financing, and there was a response from one of those justices, John.
It was one of the moments of remarkable theater tonight, Wolf. As the viewers watched this scene in Virginia, it is worth noting Bob McDonnell just won on the back of independent voters. Barack Obama, the first Democrat to win Virginia since Lyndon Johnson. The Republicans see this victory by this new governor as you noted, a chance to have the wind at their back suddenly in the midterm election. You're back to the State of the Union address. You're always watching who's clapping, who's sitting, who's grunting or groaning. As Dana noted, no boos tonight. When the president mentioned that he wanted Congress to reverse that Supreme Court decision to pass new legislation because he said it would let a flood of corporate money into the elections, even foreign money into the elections, Samuel Alito, who was a George W. Bush appointee, you could see him shaking his head and mouthing the words, and perhaps those around him could hear them. We're watching on television, of course, no, that's not right. One of the remarkable moments of theater, especially because from the Supreme Court, you almost never see any response. They sit there with their hands in their lap.
All right, so we're getting ready to hear the governor of Virginia. This is a very different kind of Republican response. Usually the party in opposition, when they give their response, whether it's a Democrat or Republican, it's usually some political leader simply looking into a camera, reading the teleprompter. It's very different than what the President of the United States has just done in the State of the Union. But deliberately this time the Republicans have gathered this crowd on the floor of the Virginia House of Delegates to make it clear that he's not just speaking into a camera. It's been done before. Christy Todd Whitman, when she was governor of New Jersey, did it. She spoke before her legislature. And Bill Clinton, who was governor of Arkansas, did it in the 80s in a response to a Republican president's State of the Union address. But this is going to give it a little bit more life, make it a little bit more different, and the Republicans are more interesting to sort of balance out if they can. They realize they can never balance the power, the prestige, the enormity of a presidential State of the Union address, but they're hoping this will give it a little bit more excitement and make it more interesting for the viewers to continue to watch the newly elected governor of Virginia, Bob McDonnell. He got himself elected last November, and Republicans like him, and that's why they selected him. Although I suspect if the newly elected Republican senator from Massachusetts, Scott Brown, if he had been elected a few weeks earlier, maybe he would have been giving this response. But right now, let's listen to the GOP, the Republican response.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good evening. I'm Bob McDonnell. 11 days ago, I was honored to be sworn in as the 71st governor of Virginia. I'm standing in the historic House chamber of Virginia's capital, a building designed by Virginia's second governor, Thomas Jefferson. It's not easy to follow the President of the United States, and my 18-year-old twin boys have added pressure to me tonight by giving me exactly 10 minutes to finish before they leave to go watch SportsCenter. I'm joined by fellow Virginians to share a Republican perspective on how to best address the challenges facing our nation today. We were encouraged to hear President Obama speak this evening about the need to create jobs. All Americans should have the opportunity to find and keep meaningful work and the dignity that comes with it. Many of us here tonight, and many of you watching, have family or friends who have lost their jobs. In fact, 1 in 10 Americans is unemployed. That is unacceptable. Here in Virginia, we face our highest unemployment rate in more than 25 years, and bringing new jobs and more opportunities to our citizens is the top priority of my administration. Good government policy should spur economic growth and strengthen the private sector's ability to create new jobs. We must enact policies that promote entrepreneurship and innovation so America can better compete with the world. What government should not do is pile on more taxation, regulation, and litigation that kill jobs and hurt the middle class. It was Thomas Jefferson who called for a wise and frugal government which shall leave men free to regulate their own pursuits of industry and shall not take from the mouth of labor the bread it has earned. He was right. Today, the federal government is simply trying to do too much. Last year, we were told that massive new federal spending would create more jobs immediately
are giving their
and hold
position.
unemployment below 8%. In the past year, more than 3 million people have lost their jobs. Yet the Democratic Congress continues deficit spending, adding to the bureaucracy, and increasing the national debt on our children and our grandchildren. The amount of debt is on pace to double in 5 years and triple in 10. The federal debt is now over $100,000 per household. This is simply unsustainable. The president's partial freeze announced tonight on discretionary spending is a laudable step, but a small one.
That's what they're wanting.
The circumstances of our time demand that we reconsider and restore the proper limited role of government at every level.
Men representing both parties are showing. We know this pile for the highest good of all concerned.